Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Chef Forum webinar focused on 2021 culinary goals, earning your ACF certification. And thank you, chefs, for joining us from all around the country. The American Culinary Federation represents the largest association of professional chefs in North America. And ACF certification program is the only culinary program in our nation with stackable credentials recognized by the Department of Labor. We're going to have a discussion with our guest about the value of certification. But before we get started, Matt is going to tell you all the different ways you can share in on the conversation. So Matt, take it away.
Thanks, Chef. My name is Matt Martlero. I will be moderating our webinar today. We want to encourage you to share your certification journeys by using the chat function. Be sure to send your comments to everyone, not just the panelists. We will then open the floor up to questions at the end of our conversation, but you can start submitting your questions now using the Q&A function. Also, once we are done with the conversation, go ahead and raise your hand and we will be allowing some of our attendees to interact directly with our panelists. So that means your microphone's on, so please be good. We will be taking those questions again after the conversation. We will do our best to get all of our questions before 5 p.m. Back to you, Chef Schopp.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Again, my name is John Schopp, and as chair of ACF Certification Commission, it's my honor and privilege to host this webinar. Some background information about me. I teach full-time, primarily baking and pastry arts at Virginia Western Community College in Roanoke, Virginia. I also own an off-premise catering company, Center Stage Catering. We've been in business, I think, our 21 years. We made it through 2020. It was a scary story. We'll talk about that maybe as we go down the road. I'm also the camp chef for Victor Wooten's Center for Music and Nature outside of Nashville, Tennessee. I've been doing that for about 16 years, about 10 weeks out of the year. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this and get started. I'd like to introduce our first chef panelist here. Good friend, Chef Brian Beelan. Chef, welcome. And if you would take a second, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chef Schopp, for hosting us today and inviting such a great panel to come together. My name is Brian Beelan. I'm the executive chef and director of food and beverage at Country Club Detroit, along with the chef instructor position at Schoolcraft College. So keep my hands busy. I've got a long relationship with the American Culinary Federation through competition, certification, and all the way up through being a participant and host administrator for the Master Chef exam at the school property the last couple times around. So looking forward to a great conversation today and sharing the trips and the enjoyment and the value of our certification program. And thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Chef. Next up, we have Chef Thompson. If you wouldn't mind, share with us a little bit about your story.
Sure. Thanks, Chef. And I'm really very excited to be here as part of this extended ACF family across the nation. So thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Chef Matthew Thompson. I'm the Chief Culinary Officer for the Harvest Table Culinary Group. We are a new culinary organization that is serving the premium dining environment in the college and university segment. I've been in the industry about 20 years. I started off, actually, I fell into hospitality almost by mistake. I started off really as a camp cook, flipping pancakes at my Boy Scout camp, and fell into hospitality, right in my college university dining years. And 20 years later, here I am running a culinary organization. I couldn't be more thrilled with the process. And really our partnership with the ACF and our commitment to certification is really one of the things that we really hold very dear to us as an organization. So I couldn't be more thrilled with sharing that story with you today. Thanks, Chef.
Awesome. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today, Chef. We appreciate it. Next up, we have pastry chef Amelia Tomasicki. Would you please share a little bit about yourself with us, Chef?
Hello, thank you. It's an honor to be one of these panelists. My name is Amelia Tomasicki. I am 24 years old, and I'm one of the pastry chef de parties at the Ritz-Carlton Resort of Naples. I've been in the industry for 9 years, working in everywhere from bakeries to restaurants, hotels, country clubs, athletic clubs, you name it. So I've gotten the feel of what it's like to work in the industry pastry-wise. I know mostly pastry, not much savory, still learning there. I am a certified pastry culinarian, and I look forward to climbing the ACF ladder to be a certified master pastry chef one day, hopefully.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chef. And for those of you that follow Amelia on social media, very talented pastry chef, very talented.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Chef. All the way from Jamaica, we have a very close friend of mine, Miss Carol Rose Brown. Welcome, Carol. Thanks for spending some time with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Good afternoon, Jeff. Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. I work for the Ministry of Tourism in Kingston, Jamaica. And as you know, a significant part of our livelihood comes from tourism. And of course, people travel. One of the reasons they travel is to have the food of the local people. And of course, as a consequence, our job is to facilitate the certification of industry workers, cooks, as well as young people who are studying culinary arts in local universities and colleges. So I'm thrilled to be here. We have a fairly unique approach to certification in culinary arts in Jamaica, and really looking forward to sharing with you all and getting some feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol. Pleasure to have you. All right, we're going to turn it over now a little bit and talk about some of our individual certification stories. I'm going to start. I joined the ACF, I think, 30 years ago, about that. I was in Lexington, Kentucky, very strong ACF culture in the club that I was employed, and it was easy to get involved. I transferred, took a job with Club Corps and transferred into Roanoke, Virginia, and then ultimately transferred back with the same organization back into Louisville. And during those times, I kind of got my head down and was completely consumed with work and walked away a little bit from my ACF family. I just, you picked the excuse, I was too busy, whatever. But I think I kind of lost a lot in those wandering years. When I came back to the Roanoke area to settle down, I started my business and subsequently started teaching adjuncting a little bit to perhaps give myself an exit strategy from the kitchen. I was starting to get a little bit aged and it was hurting a little bit more in there. And at that time, I decided it was time to pick up with my ACF certification. So I went through the repertoire of getting my CEC and then my CEPC, I think the following season, and simultaneously worked on my CCA, my Certified Culinary Administrator. And then it took me about a year of teaching to get enough work experience in that credential to ultimately achieve my Certified Culinary Educator credential. What has that done for me? Tremendous things. The first thing it has done is it's focused me into just cooking again at the most basic level. I think we get wrapped up in our work and sometimes we're an island and we lose track of how big this world is. Certification has provided me great mentorship, but also put me on a path where continued education is now what I eat and breathe. So I've implemented certification into my business, and hopefully we can get into a conversation with Chef Thompson too. I think that works too. We credential our people, pay them, and they get raises all based off the ACF certification ladder. We've been doing it for 6 years and it works really great. My team knows what their next goal is, what their level is, what they're trying to attain. But when I'm not looking, I have a full brigade full of culinarians that are training in their mind. They're keeping each other honest. They're working clean. They're always focusing on knife cuts. They're always knowing that they've got another certification that they're kind of working on. So the whole kitchen kind of now is locked in with that same mindset. And I got to tell you, as an employer, it works great. And as an employer, we fully support, we pay for ACF membership. We pay for anything that has to do with certification, from practicing to registrations. And then when my employees achieve that certification, they get a raise that they know they're going to get. So all the way up and down the ladder. So it works really well for me. So we're going to now go down our panel and find out a little bit about each of these great chefs that we're talking with. Chef Amelia, what has encouraged you to seek ACF certification in your career?
Well, I started off in college. My chefs did a really great job of inspiring and instilling the ACF. And I was just a student member in college, and I didn't participate too much. I did two wedding cake competitions. I got a silver and a bronze, never made it to the gold. Thought about maybe one day going for it. I still have a lot of practice to do. But after I graduated college, I realized, yeah, I think I definitely want to pursue the ACF, a professional level. So I went ahead, graduated college, upgraded my membership to a professional, looked through all the benefits, and I realized this is something special here. So I started going to the ACF national conventions. I went to the one in Orlando and the one in New Orleans, and that was really, really great time. And I kind of found family in the ACF. I started meeting all these different chefs, and people say that it's kind of a gentleman's club, or it's just a time to hang out. I don't think of it like that at all. I really find something unique in this, and I love being a part of it.
That's an awesome story. How do you think now you have your CPC, and I have to imagine you're going to probably maybe skip that next level just from looking at your work, and you are supervising people. You're probably going to go CEPC.
The goal is the CEPC next, yes.
Awesome. And then the one after that, maybe?
Maybe, CMPC. I heard you guys they're reconstructing the CMPC, so I'm kind of following that track to see where it's going, and yeah, it's the end goal.
Fabulous. So besides a personal goal for you, how do you see that benefiting your job? Do you connect the dots, or is it purely a personal goal, or?
It started out as a personal goal. I saw that CMPC and I'm like, that would look really great behind my name. So yeah, a little kind of personal, but just seeing how it can benefit my job, it pushes me on a personal level and a professional level, pushes me to become and learn more and more every single day, every single year, and it'll get me to that CMPC level.
Fabulous. Thanks for sharing with us. All right, Chef Thompson, you're next. If you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about what ACF certification means to you and what it's done for you and all of that.
Sure. Thanks, Chef. I mentioned earlier that my undergrad degree was actually in computer science, and I fell into hospitality by mistake. And really, my opportunity to become certified, I was nominated by my employer at the time, and they were sponsoring certification in terms of the cost of the training for, I think it was 5 of their chefs. And they chose me as someone that they wanted to go through the certification process. So I was very fortunate to kind of go through this journey with some other folks, some other colleagues, and they could watch what I was doing and I could watch what they were doing, and we kind of learned from each other as we practiced our practical menus and as we studied for our written exams. And I was so intimidated. I mean, they're talking about, oh, I haven't done these knife cuts since 20 years ago when I was in culinary school. And I'm like, I haven't even been in the industry for 20 years. Like, I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. But I spent a lot of time working and practicing and making sure that I honed my craft and my technique to be prepared for it. And there was one thing that I didn't really understand at the time of taking the practical exam, but I do now since I've become certified. And it wasn't until I started becoming a certification evaluator and I started that process where I really began to understand that this is not a competition. It's not something that you get judged on. This is an evaluation of your proficiency performing a task. Once I looked at it from that perspective, I was a lot less intimidated about following through the milestones. So, as I talk through some of the folks that I mentor, I really get them excited about embracing the technique and embracing really what the certification is meant to do. It's not to deliver the most innovative culinary strategy or to show off an ingredient that no one's ever seen before. It's really about mastery and proficiency. So from my perspective, that's something that I'm really proud of doing. And like you mentioned, Chef Schopp, our organization has also supported our chefs, and we see it as a developmental opportunity, all the way down to, to the folks that are just entering the industry, to the folks that have been in it for a number of years and just haven't been challenged to get that milestone yet. So that's kind of my journey, but it's really been an exciting journey, and it's not over yet.
I love that. Great story, Chef Thompson. Thank you for sharing with us very much. We're going to switch over to Master Chef Brian Beeland. Now, you've achieved the pinnacle of of ACF certification with tremendous commitment and achievement. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But if you wouldn't mind, Chef, tell us your earlier ladder stories with ACF certification. What were those like when you were a baby Beeland, a small Beeland?
Thanks, Chef Shop. You know, my track actually started in hospitality business in Michigan State. Wasn't quite sure what direction I wanted to go within the industry. I really enjoyed working as a prep cook, line cook through my high school years and getting into college. Wasn't until my second internship when I really actually landed here at Country Club in Detroit after being turned down for a couple opportunities and no return phone calls looking for an internship opportunity. And it was when I came into this kitchen that I really experienced the first time a true, well-run professional kitchen focused on ACF certification, ACF competition, high energy, truly engaged kitchen into the education and development of the culinary team. And it was really after that first summer that I made the commitment that I wanted to stick with culinary, and then opted to continue my education out to the Culinary Institute of America. But before doing that, it was 2001. The chef I was working for at the time took me out to the school. He was a graduate to show me the campus, kind of take me around. And at that same time, the Master Chef exam was going on. So the moment I stepped into the continuing education building there in Hyde Park in that basement, looked in the window, and I picked out some mentors right away out of that kitchen. And I remember watching Chef McFadden and Chef Russell Scott and just an elite group of chefs in that kitchen, and thinking, wow, I want to be a part of that. That's the ultimate goal. That's the benchmark to where I really want to get my career, personal culinary career, aligned with that. So how do I do that? And really that set my platform for the next 10 years of focus for study, jobs, certification ladder, and the certification process really gave that track to me. It gave a direction to go, some benchmarks to hit, along with personal progression, commitment, not only to culinary itself, but to really how to approach every single day, self-evaluation, discipline, focusing on the details, and utilizing this particular platform as one avenue to further develop those skills, both in the kitchen, administratively, professionally, and move forward into today.
Fantastic. I'm just gonna a little bit longer, if I can hang on to you here for just a little. Talking real for those folks out there that the Master Chef exam is a goal or an idea. How did you go about finding mentors, appropriately reaching out to those mentors? You know, I imagine you have to do a good bit of legwork yourself. You just don't call up a busy Master Chef and say, hey, I want to be a Master Chef, take me there. So maybe an approach for somebody that's lower down in the ranks that has this on the horizon, maybe 5 years, 6 years. How do you get started with that?
Sure. You know, a lot of that started with some just professional chef connections, working with the chefs that I knew that happened to be connected through other chefs within the American Culinary Federation local chapters. You know, we reach across the entire country and internationally that through some connections and really just kind of not plugging of names, but the opportunity of, you know, working with a mentor chef that I was with, and they had a connection to another chef, speaking with that chef, going into their kitchens, doing some working. Actually, I remember one of the commitments I had, I was looking at my internship at the Culinary Institute of America, and I was fortunate enough to really want to connect with two different properties, one being the Ritz-Carlton Naples. Chef Johnstone and Chef McFadden were down at that property at that time. And at that same time, Chef Leonard had just taken over at Westchester Country Club. And my wife, now then fiance, was living in New York with me. We had moved away from Michigan, and she said, absolutely not. You're not moving down to Florida. You can make the hour-plus drive out to Rye, New York every day for your job at Westchester. And you know, that happened to prove to be just a great opportunity for me. And that connection with Chef Leonard just happened to be through the chefs that I had met along the path. You know, he was coming out of Chicago at that time, and the chef I was working for in Detroit, through his friend who I had worked with and did some opportunities with, just that connection. He made that first phone call connection with me, and my interview with Chef Leonard happened to be at the Master Chef exam in 2003 out there in in New York. So nothing like interviewing with Chef at the day 8 of the Master Chef exam in the middle of a snowstorm, trying to do your interview for an internship the upcoming season. But it's really through that, and it's through hard work and not just asking, but you have to put yourself out there, whether it's through competition, setting up the time, making the commitment yourself, looking to help yourself advance. Nobody else is going to do it for you. You have to put in the effort to schedule the time, make the appearance, put forth the effort, follow up, and just continue to be diligent with that. You know, there's mentorship, there's availability to help, but it really starts with yourself and your own personal dedication to the process first. And the process isn't just looking to take and pass the exam. It's really a whole process into how you want to work and set your own personal standards of excellence for day in and day out, and how that transfers into the kitchen.
Well put. Thank you for sharing that, Chef. And I heard a little bit of that in there, this idea of planning. I think I see, you know, some culinarians around that put certification off. I don't need it currently. And I would just reinforce that the time to get certified is before you need it, because when you need it, it's probably too late for that opportunity. So the idea of setting goals and working towards them in a realistic time frame, I think would benefit everyone. All
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. We're going to switch over. Miss Carol Rose Brown, you have a very unique story here, as you're not a chef. Would you mind sharing with us what ACF certification brings to the Jamaican tourism industry?
Well, Chef, thank you. It's an interesting question, because having listened to these chefs and to have heard your stories, we came to ACF certification through a completely other route. Our route was a desire to get that certification, to get enough people in Jamaica certified so they could get on the first rung of the kitchen ladder, as Amelia spoke about. And not only that, but to inspire them to understand the virtue of elevating Jamaican food to Jamaican cuisine, that kind of thing that you have to want yourself. You have to see that as an important thing. I'll tell you a story. I remember Chef Schopp is here in Jamaica as an evaluator. And he's evaluating a set of young pastry chefs, CEPCs. And this guy makes a fairly decent cake, and he has the filling, some strawberry jam. And Chef says to him, but out there in the yard are these fabulous mango trees with this amazing fruit sitting there. Why aren't you using Jamaican fruit and turning it into a jam or a marmalade or a jelly, and using that? And that is the kind of thing that we need to happen. People need to, the chefs in our world need to make this move. And in order to do that, we had to start from scratch. We had to find and identify and invite people to take on the additional work of becoming a certified culinary educator. Then we had to find ACF certified chefs in our midst who wanted to become evaluators. Then we had to figure that out. Then we had to figure out testing sites. And I won't tell you the stories of testing sites, you wouldn't believe me, but again, We are now at the point where we have about 20 certified culinary educators. We have about 5 or 6 locally certified. We have 5 or 6 certified evaluators here. We have 3 ACF certified test sites. And our job is constantly to keep the numbers going through. Right now, we have about 50 people in certification programs. And Chef, you'll be happy to know that we're attempting to do this online. A significant amount of this cannot be done in person. And a lot of it is being done in a blended manner online, for which, you know, we're working at it. We'll see how it goes. In addition, we have had to develop manuals because we have a very different process from yours. We thought that in order to encourage people and support their movement towards certification, it would be easier if we helped them, if we provided tutors to support them and to encourage them and to guide and lead and prepare them for exams. And so we did manuals with the help of chefs, Rots, Abby, a number of you, Khalil, Chef Khalil here, Chef Dawkins here, a number of people who helped us develop these manuals. And so we're 2.5 years into it, and we have, I think, maybe about 75, 80 certified chefs so far. So I think we're going along fairly well, but we have a lot of work to do and a fairly long way to go. And we really are just delighted that ACF has fallen in with us and has become a partner, a real partner in wanting to work with us and answering our every question and supporting the kinds of things we need to do.
You're very kind. We applaud your effort. I just saw, is it the Heart Academy, or did you help? You guys now have a mobile testing bot that you have just brought up online to take examinations straight to the end user on the island.
Yes, our ACF certification is aligned with the local TVET certification modalities, which is offered by Heart Trust. And they are making it possible to provide level 1 and level 2 certification, which is below the CEPC, Amelia, to people who are now cooking in hotels and restaurants and other places around the country. And so the idea of taking this bus on the road to administer these certification exams is tremendous. And there's great hope that this will increase the number of persons who are taking culinary arts seriously and making the commitment to get it done. The first time I hear about mise en place and knife cuts and all that kind of thing, I'm thinking, okay, yeah. But you really, over time, you get to understand how important these basic things are. And not only is it a good thing for the chef in terms of preparing and presenting the food, it's going to help the guy who employs him save some money because a lot less of his stuff is going to end up in the garbage. I mean, these things are, it's a whole thing. It's the employer, it's the employee, it's the process, it's the final product, it's the reputation of the institution. All of these things are wrapped up in what y'all do in the kitchen. And we are just, I find it, I'm delighted. I think it's kind of like serendipity that I get to have this job. So I'm good.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, Carol Rose. We'll be back here in a second. We happen to have anybody out in our audience that has questions for us? Matt, have you seen anything yet?
We have quite a few questions coming in, Chef. Thank you. We're going to start with a question from Sharon Kemp. She was one of the first people to ask a question. And this is pretty broad. How or what do I need for certification as a culinarian?
I'll take a stab at that. The best way to start this process is to either go to the website or to pick up the phone and call Katie down at the national office. And we want to pre-qualify you. We want to see what your educational experience is, what your corresponding work experience is. And I think on the website, we even have a little calculator where you can ask some yes and no questions, and it kind of tells you what level you should start with. The national office can walk you through that and help you with that too. But that's the first thing we want to do. We don't want to start thinking about written exams or practical exams. As culinarians, we tend to focus on that practical exam. That's kind of actually the last piece of the puzzle in certification. We first want to see what level we qualify for. We would send in an application. ACF National Office will verify that we're able to start the process at whatever level, and then we go from there. And usually it's then the written exam is what's expected next, and that's good for a 2-year time frame once you pass it. And once you have that under your belt, you're ready to step into the arena and try the practical exam. Obviously, you can be practicing this practical exam during this whole time, and I would say you definitely would probably want to. It's not something, as Chef Beelan mentioned, not something we just kind of train up for and forget about. It is how you work every day in the work that you're in, and you can align yourself to prepare yourself for this exam. You definitely want to be very clean and organized, because those are habits that are very hard to turn on and off for an exam.
We did get the link put into the chat box as well. So if anybody does have questions, go ahead and click on the link that the ACF just put into the chat box about certification. Our next question is from Javier Haro. There are new industry opportunities in plant-based or vegan cooking. Are there certifications in this area? And we're going to follow this up because there's another question right after it from Kurt Keefe. And he says, I am working on a goal to have plant-based certification offered by ACF in both savory and pastry. What can I do to help make this a reality? Will it help if I put together a rough draft job analysis and practical exam guidelines?
I'll go ahead and start with that. We've actually, the Certification Commission has been approached by Chef Keefe and some other people. We have an upcoming commission meeting in March. We have to still figure out if we're going to be in person or Zoom with this crazy world right now and everything going on. But that's the appropriate place to present that. So Chef, I would say yes, anything you have that is organized and thought out will help steer the conversation at the commission level. The commission would need to look at it, and to me, at its face value, it sounds like a great idea. It's definitely a good section of the market is moving that way. But for ACF Certification Commission to take it off, there's going to need to be a level of interest out there and the ability for us to move that forward. So we're going to need to see what it looks like and then have a level of interest out there, almost like any formal education. When new programs are initiated, there's those surveys to, is there want, is there need, and then move forward. But I think the idea on its surface sounds fantastic. I'm seeing, actually, I just got an email for another webinar with Albert Ooster doing plant-based demo tomorrow in baking and pastry. So it's definitely out there on the horizon, and I would think it's something we're going to be talking about in March. So I would encourage you to reach out to me or the national office, and any way you can encapsulate that and shrink it down, we'd love to have that, have a discussion prior to that commission meeting.
Great, thank you, Chef. Our next question is from Wayne Shelton. He asks, on the practical exam menu, are we allowed to plan out a menu with the required ingredients for the CEC exam, or is this more of a mystery basket format?
That's awesome. Anybody want to take that one? I'll take it. But Chef Beelan, do you want to jump in there and bail me a little bit, or there you go.
I could do my best, Chef. I'll be honest, I have not looked at that basket recently or the requirements in there. I know when I was on the commission, we incorporated the multiple cooking techniques with the chicken, and we provided a market basket which allotted for a set of ingredients to be utilized. And I may have to bounce back to you a little bit there, Chef Schopp, to see exactly where that lies now? Is there still an opportunity to, we had to use an item or two from specified from those vegetables or starches. But I'm honestly caught a little bit off guard at the moment with the exact parameters on where that's at today.
So sorry, Chef. Chef Thompson, are you up there? You look like you're.
Well, you know, Chef, we're struggling with that. It's not a mystery basket. There's a specific list of things in this thing that you have to do. And then you have to cook a specific list of dishes in the time period. In fact, I laugh about it because one of the items on that list is artichokes. So whenever we have to do CEC certification, we have to import a box of 24 artichokes. And the only time they're going to be used in Jamaica is for the ACF test. And after then, we'll have to think about what do you do with an artichoke? So no, it's not a mystery basket. It's a specific list of things you have to use, and you have to prepare a specific list of dishes in a particular time period.
Carol Rose Brown for the win. That's exactly it. It is a market
Beat
basket.
me out for sure.
I think it has to showcase four classical knife cuts. There are some cuts that are not acceptable, chiffonade, mince, things like that.
Right.
Have to fabricate a chicken and cook the white and dark meat, 2 different cooking methodologies. Humanely harvest a lobster, work that into rotation. So the question is, it is not a mystery basket. It is a market basket, and you should pre-plan that menu, run it by a mentor. And a mentor should be somebody that's taken that exam before, because that's going to matter.
Yes.
And then you're going to work on your timetables and all of that, and you should be very successful. Don't go into it as a mystery basket. That's scary.
No. Not a mystery basket.
That's CMC stuff. You guys have a couple of those on your exam.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I knew we moved to the market basket format. I honestly just couldn't remember the exact requirements, if it was a exact prescribed basket, or if we allowed some variance based on seasonality of products in there.
It's and then to Chef Beelan's to come to his defense a little bit, the Certification Commission gets lots of questions from all of you across the U.S. Carol Rose Brown in Jamaica, why do we have to do artichokes? We never use them on the island. So we wrestle with things like that, and we try to. The important thing about certification that it is relevant to today's industry. So I can tell you we have several things on the table that we're discussing that may radically change ACF certification a little bit, trying to keep it current to the market right now. So great question.
Right.
Thanks, chefs. Next question is from Kelly Wolf. Hello, chefs. I am currently an evaluator, and I was an educator for 9 years. I used the CEPC test as a final for my baking students. I've evaluated one recently. I was wondering if there have been any comments from other ACF members about the difficulty of that test. I have observed that most people are done 30 minutes to an hour early. Has there been any discussion of cutting time or adding an item?
I would say yes, and I'm not sure. We have another, we relaunched the CCC exam, and we're also seeing similar things there as it's being done out in the market. Culinarians are finishing that CCC exam to a high level and still have time left over. So we're looking at those things, and I applaud you for implementing that exam. I do the same thing with my intro baking class. They take the CPC at midterm, and then the CWPC practical exam is their final exam coming out of their first baking and pastry class. They're terrified when they first step in. I say, here's what you're going to do for your final. But by the time they take the final, they're comfortable with it.
Right. And
I think it's great because they have to just work that rotation and keep the move and multitask and all of that. So yes, we are looking at that. And cautiously, I would say we would look at that. What we don't want to do, we want to provide enough time to get quality product for a range of individuals. So people that practice will shave quite a bit of time off of that. So it depends. I think that's a cue we'll have to pull from the main office and look at times That's the first time I've heard the CPC being really, really short. I know some of my students finish it a little early, but we'll take a look at it and great insights. We appreciate that. And we appreciate the feedback on these exams. The Certification Commission doesn't just sit behind closed doors and try to imagine what ACF certification should be. What we really do is, as we're bumping into our colleagues out there on exams or at conventions or out to dinner or whatever, we listen to it and then we bring it back, and if it makes sense, we talk about it, and then we try to make a decision on it. We can't change everything. It takes a little bit of time to implement that change and to do it so it's not herky-jerky for everybody out there, but we do listen to it.
All right, we have a lot of questions still to get to, and we've got about 20 minutes left on our webinar, so we'll try to get to all of these. The next question is from Jason Seipel. Can you suggest a good study guide or a good source of information to study for my practical exam?
Which practical exam?
For the actual practical cooking exam or the written exam that goes along with the certification?
That's all we had on that question, but if Jason wants to jump in or send us a message in the chat, we will try to follow back up with that. Until he does, it appears we need a more specific question. So this next one is from Gabriel Estrada. I'm working towards my next level. I'm certification for CSC here in Michigan. How long after I gain CSC should I go for CEC?
If anybody wants to take that, Gabriel, I think I see you on social media also. I think I've been following you a little bit from some of my friends up in Michigan. You want to, you're going to need the work experience and the education to back that up. So it's not necessarily I jump from one to the next. There is a timeline of management that you're going to need to have. And at the CEC level, there's 2 additional, I believe, 30-hour educational modules that are required at that level too. So at any time you can be working on the education. And I guess technically anytime you could take, once you're able to go in there, you could take the written exam, but before the certification is going to be active for you, you're going to have the on-the-job experience of managing people as an executive chef. So I would refer you back to the ACF website. All of those things are very well laid out on the ACF website. I tend to get lots of chefs, they kind of bump into me and go, oh, I want to get certified. How do I do it? I'm like, go to the ACF website. No, really, how do I do it? It could not be any more laid out than you just click buttons and it follows you down through. So ACF has gone through a lot of energy and money to put up a great website, and you just click and point, it tells you everything. You're going to have to do some reading. And then once you get that point, you understand what level you're going for, then I would say it's time to reach out to find a mentor to work specifically. Back to the first question, how do I study? If it's the written exam, again, on that website, there are listed materials, and there are also some practice exams that help. When I took my CEC, I relied on the decades of on-the-job experience that I had. And I think that really prepared me for the most of that written exam. I did take the practice exams. And from my on-the-job experience, I was able to kind of pass those practical exams pretty easily. I studied those. There's a lot of written text, and I'm not sure that's the best way to study for the written exam because there's just so much knowledge in those texts. So it's really almost designed that if you're out there acting as an executive chef for those 3 to 5 years, you're going to glean the knowledge that you need for the most part for the written exams. So I kind of wrap those two together.
All right, we have a ton of questions still coming in, so we're going to keep going. Wayne Shelton asks, what resources help you prepare best for the written CEC exam?
Same thing. I think I just spoke to that.
Gotcha.
So
thank you very much.
There's practice exams up on the website. There's a list of reference materials.
Right.
All right. William Oliveri asks, looking for when the update on the CEPC changes, which removed the beverage management requirement.
This is great. So this is a, hi chef, how you doing? This is, Chef reached out to me, I would say year, maybe 2 years ago. We've been working on this now. We changed some things on the certified executive pastry chef level. As I think 4 years ago, Chef Beeland, was that when we got the charge to bridge the gap between CEC and CMC? Or was that 5 years?
It was about, I think it was about 4 years ago.
Okay. So this is one of those things where I think we, commission made a decision, and then it went out into across the country, and then some really thoughtful chefs gave us feedback back, and now we're working with this. So we added a couple of courses, front-loaded a couple courses that we thought were CMC important down into the CEC, and then the CMCs have been working diligently at retooling and modifying the CMC exam. They've been doing a great job at that. And then we just kind of said, well, CEC, CEPC, we need to add some courses here too. And we added a beverage course, and some people are like, why? We thought at that time around the table that we were seeing young pastry chefs coming out and opening up pastry cafes or small cafes, pastry driven. They may be having a coffee bar there or something like that. And we thought that beverage knowledge wouldn't hurt that person. Chef made a really great point that said, well, who says an executive chef and an executive pastry chef are equal? I always work for, a CEC or maybe a CMC. So then we started thinking about that. And I think at the last commission meeting, we came up and we're working on more of a cafeteria plan that will allow that class to be more individual specific to somebody's individual path. So I think we're going to leave the beverage course on there, but we're looking for probably like an advanced showpiece course or advanced bread or lamination course or an advanced chocolate or candy course, things that may enhance a pastry chef in their own individual path. So you should be seeing kind of a cafeteria plan of about 5 different avenues to go for that one. And that all comes from Chef. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I do want to add, I appreciate that F&B aspect of the pastry world, just because when pastry chefs do like chef's tables, either at country club, restaurants, wherever they're doing, people will ask them, oh, well, what kind of dessert wine, what would you like paired with this dessert? And I'm like, oh, I've got no idea. That was part of my job. Oh crap, I have to come up with something to go with this dessert. So it is actually very, very important to know what would pair well with your dessert. Whether it be chocolate, something fruity, something whatever, you should know a great pairing, whether it's coffee or dessert wine. You definitely should have some sort of understanding in that way.
Thank you, Chef. All right.
All right, we're gonna try.
And Chef, just to add an addendum to that, I mean, one of the things in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, we have 2 fabulous drinks: coffee, really good coffee, and rum.
Yeah.
And a number of things connected to that. But in the training and certification business, even in the training of sommeliers, I think it's a very small number of people trained to look at rum in that way, paired with what are the best things, how, in what combination, how do you mix, etc. So again, we want to encourage you in this adding of the beverage part to think about other kinds of beverages besides scotch, brand, vodka, rye, that kind of thing. So include rum and coffee. Just saying.
I think we're good together too.
All right,
Yeah,
chefs,
yeah.
we've got about 10 minutes left to go, and we've got more than 10 questions, so we're going to try and get through all these. Jasmine Miller wants to go to culinary school, but doesn't know if it's worth it, and is having a hard time finding a good culinary school around her. She's interested in Escoffier Culinary School, but what can you speak to in regards to the difficulty in finding a good quality culinary school in your area?
Amelia, you want to take that? You're on main screen.
Okay, well, I was actually very fortunate enough to have a phenomenal culinary school near me that was directed through Baker College. So it was kind of a community college, it was a branch of Baker College. So it was affordable, and I was able to stay at my parents' house and commute. But I actually looked into the Culinary Institute of America, and I did my research. I balanced, the cost, the chefs. I did a lot of research. So to find the best one for you, again, just look into it. You'll get all these mailings in the mail, all these pamphlets inviting you to open houses. Go to each one of those open houses. They're fun. You make new friends in the industry. That's a great way to start. But yeah, just do your research. That's what I suggest.
Anybody else want to chime in on that? I'm going to throw in community college culinary programs are very cost effective, and you'd want to look for perhaps an ACF accredited one, because then they've in additional to SACS or whatever accrediting body that college has, ACF comes in and accredits the culinary program. So I would start there, and in doing certification exams around some of these schools, I've seen some great community college and state college culinary programs.
That information just got posted into the chat box as well. So once this webinar wraps up, we'll keep this open just in case anybody wants to go back through the chat and grab any of those links that they need. So we'll give you about 90 seconds, 2 minutes once we're done. Next question is from Gerard James. I've been out of culinary school 7 years now. I have never attempted to be certified. I have experience cooking in kitchens for about 7 years. Where would I start with certification?
Chef Thompson, you want to jump in here and give us some?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to just go. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please.
I was saying, go to national conventions. That's kind of what really inspired me to go for the gold. As I say often, ACF national conventions are a lot of fun, and it'll help to inspire you and motivate you. That's what it did for me. Sorry, go ahead, Chef Thompson.
The only other comment that I would add is certainly, check out the website as recommended. I think that will give you a good understanding of really where you kind of gauge yourself and your talents. And I think finding a mentor to help guide you through that process is also extremely important. One of the things that we do is we think about our culinarians in terms of what their path looks like, or their culinary journey. And it's not necessarily a destination, but it's a journey. So maybe you do need to start at a certified culinarian or a certified sous chef before you can progress to other levels. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's why the ACF program of stackable credentials is so important, because it does let you build on that experience and start with something that you're truly comfortable with. So that would be my recommendation.
Awesome. Thank you, Chef. Matt, you with us?
Yep. Our next question is from Charles Schulman. I'm going to read this verbatim. Chef Schopp, when is y'all's next practical? I know you guys just did one, or should I ask Chef Hoffman at Maryland CC?
Hey, Chef, good to see you. We just had one this weekend. We did an evaluator training. We had some folks that needed to clean up their third apprentice evaluators. We had nobody in our service reason. We had a couple of chefs come in from out of town to take that. So we do one here in Roanoke, Virginia at the school every spring and every fall. We already have a lot of people interested in fall, so we're probably, I'm going to be early November is what I would say our next exam would be, and we'll probably do an evaluator training the day before also. So.
All right, very good. This is David Janasic. Any time frame around when the CEC practical exam may change, based on Chef Schopp's comment around keeping it relevant? Don't want to make a menu in practice, then the market basket criteria changes.
That's a great point. We would grandfather that for you, though. Our changes, when we implement a change, we usually implement also a 6-month grandfather clause so that you could work through that. I don't see the CEC changing anytime soon. We are discussing possibly trying to make some accommodations that are more regional as far as product procurement goes. we spoke a little bit about the Caribbean never using an artichoke. So we're looking at why would we test that if that island never does, they don't bring them on, and can we find a suitable replacement for it? I think that goes back for a couple years that we've been thinking of that. So I don't see that exam changing anytime soon, although I do see it probably changing. But I think you're safe for at least a year. We've got some other things we need to look at, and it seems like we might need to be looking at plant-based practical exams here on the horizon. So we'll see where that goes.
Mhm.
Right. Next one is from Michelle Towler. I am scheduled to take the CWPC practical in February. And in the handbook, it says that, I'm going to mangle this because I do not live in your world like you do, SCHOUX, pastry filling. Shoe? I don't have any idea. Pastry filling is not required. Do most candidates finish the eclairs, swans, and Paris Brest, or leave them unfilled?
Currently, here's the protocol for that. We request it unfilled so we can evaluate the internal structure. Some candidates will put filling in them. We can still evaluate the internal structure, but now in addition to that, we're evaluating your filling, which we didn't need to evaluate. So if you're confident in that, that's fine. We do have some leading pastry chefs around the nation that are challenging us a little bit on that exam with some good comments. One of them is that let's finish these pastries because we should. The other is talking about the seasonality of strawberries, right? So we require this strawberry tart, which is, you know, flavor profile 1/3 a nice buttery crust, 1/3 a nice custard filling, and 1/3 ripe fruit. And for half the year or better, most of the country can't get ripe strawberries. So we're looking at, can we accommodate a seasonal tart, and what would that look like? So again, the comments are great. We like them, and we'll hash them over and try to do the greatest good. And I will say, we're not always right. We're human like everybody else out there, but the only way things shape is with your feedback. And, you know, we do have parameters that we have to maintain the integrity of this exam. So sometimes we have that, but we're more than willing to talk about any of this with anybody. So did I answer the question or just talk?
All right, we're going to try something. Anthony Castro has had his hand up since the beginning of our webinar. I feel like I'm back in school waiting for the teacher to call on me. I am going to allow you to talk, Anthony. If you have a question to direct to our panelists, I'm opening up your microphone now. So go ahead at your leisure. You are muted, so please unmute yourself. Anthony, if you are there, go ahead and ask your question. If not, we are going to keep moving on. All right, we're going to move on. Kyle has also had his hand on for a very long up for a very long time. Kyle, you are allowed to talk. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you have a question for our panelists. Kyle, if you are there, go ahead and ask your question. If not, we are going to
Move on.
Yep, we are going to move on. No worries. Okay, we've got a couple more questions and we're going to need to wrap. Chrissy Jensen asks, can you go into the rumored changes to the certification exams? Is that more on the practical side or the written?
I didn't hear the question.
Can you go into the rumored changes to the certification exam? Is that more on the practical side or the written?
Rumored changes.
Rumored changes.
Aware, I'm sure there's rumors all abound, but I'm not aware of any rumored changes. Everything we're working on should be, you should be able to find on the website in the certification portal. So no rumors. We are working on realigning some of our practice exams that's ongoing. And some of our written exams, I think, are in on slate to be reworked. Those get reworked, I think, every 5 years. And then the practical evaluations, it just depends if there's a need, and then we would bring that up at the commission level and discuss. And usually it almost takes about a year sometimes to implement change. it's just a process to do. So.
All right, our last question. We did speak a little bit about this earlier, but is ACF looking into creating certification for plant-based? That's from Chef Efford Singleton. I know we did speak a little bit about that, but he may have missed that answer.
We are taking that up. We're also interested in cannabis-based certifications for cannabis cuisine, and a few other items out there that we're looking at. So again, ACF, we don't want to hold a trove of certifications. What we want is certifications that are being utilized and sought after. I think we sunset just a few commission meetings ago that nobody was participating in. I would tell you this, we have this wonderful certification if you are a private chef, and I know there's a lot of folks out there. We have a great certification for that, and that exam is, the practical exam is, I think, a little more challenging than the CEC exam. So for all you personal private chefs out there.
All right, I've got time for one last question from Ziad Sadeh. I have been working in the F&B industry for the last 10 years in the front of house. Where should I start in the kitchen?
I think that's an easy one. I would always start building a strong foundation. So I would start at the bottom with that certified culinarian, and then digest and keep moving. Decide if you want a sweet or savory path, but I would start at ground zero.
Awesome. So we are going to need to wrap up, Chef Schopp. If you will go ahead and see us out, I'll have some closing announcements, but if you have any closing thoughts, everybody.
Awesome. I'd like to just say, now more than ever, I think we're seeing this divide in our country with trades and the want for trades. I'm seeing it in my academic world here at school. Certification is important, right? We have gotten farm to table down. We care where our products are coming from, but for the most of the American public, they haven't connected the dots yet with who's actually handling their food. And I would say culinary schools are great. They're a great baseline, but this career is definitely one built on repetition, continuous learning, finding mentorship at every level. And certification is a part of that. I think you should be thinking about investing in yourself. Some people I hear out there say, hey, certification is not for me. The majority of those people are either afraid of certification or just the unknown. I would say give it a shot and see how it realigns your thought process, reinvigorates you in the kitchen at whatever level you're at. It really, for me, and I think the rest of the panelists, keeps us in our lane focused on what we're doing, right? We're in the kitchen many, many hours away from our family. And sometimes it just has a way of getting away from you. Certification is something that helps bring balance to you and keeps you growing in a positive way. So I would encourage everybody out there to think about it, go to the website, check it out, find a mentor. Once you figure out where you're going for, a mentor that has been there before you, right, that has taken that examination. I wouldn't study for my CMC exam with somebody that's never taken the exam if I were going to do that. And that the rest of that kind of falls down the ladder. So I'll leave you with that in closing.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, everybody. Chefs,
Thank you,
thank you so
John.
much for your time.
Thank you, chefs.